you. Thanks for tapping in on Tap Keg. I'm RJ Zimmerman, and today I'm very excited to be joined by Ian Fee, the owner and founder of Make It Great and author of the upcoming book, Wild Ride to Sobriety. How are you doing, Ian?
I'm doing good. Awesome. Awesome.
It's great to have you. This is going to be a really, really fantastic discussion. I know it already. So, for people who this may be their first time coming in contact with you, could you give us a little bit of a background into who Ian Fee is?
Yeah. I'll give you a super quick one. I was actually born in New Westminster, Canada, which most people don't know. And sometimes I forget because I was only there like 11 days and then flew over to the border. They shipped me over the border to Bellingham, which is a couple hours north of Seattle. Two older brothers, grew up there till I was about 12. Dad had this big job offer in '86, right when the market was crazy in real estate. Moved to the armpit of the world in Southern California called the Salton Sea, which is like 60 miles south of Palm Springs. It has not changed in 30 years for sure. So I went to junior high school. My graduating class was 17 kids. We played 8-man football because we couldn't even field a football team. So we played 8-man football. And as a pretty good athlete in sports, I didn't get into the whole booze thing in high school. I just kind of excelled in baseball because there's nothing else to do. So I played baseball, basketball, football. And from there, I was like, when I graduated, I'm like, I have to get out of this town. And I've dated these same girls, from prom to senior prom to homecoming. We just rotate, be like, hey, Anthony, can I take Tanya? And you can take Lisa. Okay, yeah, it'd be great. So it was just weird in a super small town. So I had to get out of there. I moved into Palm Springs and had the best job ever. I was a pool attendant at the Marriott Desert Princess. It's kind of where all the celebrities went back in the day. And I would spritz girls, set up pool towels. It was awesome. And then I was like, man, I got to do something besides, be a pool attendant. So I got into the hotel business and went to San Diego. And that's where the partying began. Big Mouth Mickey's. I went to hotel management school, lived right on the beach in Mission Beach. There was like 6 of us in this 3-bedroom little place because that's all you could afford. So there was 3 of us literally in one room in a 2-bedroom. There were 6 of us in a 2-bedroom place. And it was rinse and repeat there from Big Mouth Mickey's. You go to school, you go to work at the hotel at 10 o'clock, you go to the bonfire on the beach, you drink Big Mouth Mickey's, you chase girls, you go to bed, you wake up hungover, rinse and repeat. And then I did pretty good in the hotel business and moved back to Seattle to run a hotel, the Embassy Suites, and drank and partied my face off and excelled there because I figured taking people out boozing moved me up. And that's what I believed. And it worked. And from there, moved to Whidbey Island. It's a big naval base up here in Washington, and got in the car business and did F&I in the car business for a little bit. Had kids in the car business, kind of bounced around, went through my first divorce. I hate to say that because there's multiple ones coming. Got out of the car business, dated and remarried another gal. She raised my kids quite a bit along with my other wife. I almost sound like I'm Mormon. I don't have 7 wives. I'm not that far yet, but I'm still young enough that I could when I'm 75 years old. Yeah, and then kind of got in the car business. One of my partners kind of dragged me out of there and said, "Hey, kid, you want to come start your own agency, and we can call on car dealers and sell these aftermarket insurance products?" I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds great. How much?" He's like, "Well, it's all commission." I'm like, "Well, sounds fun. Let's do it." Because I was kind of burnt out in the hotel business. So started this business, and I made $8,000 my first year, not month, year. So that was brutal, going through a divorce, paying child support. I lived with my buddy Casey, that we just drink Maker's Mark and sit in the hot tub till wee hours of the night, and then rinse and repeat, hungover, and go bang on doors for a little bit. And I grew that business pretty well. That I sold it in 2016. Me and my partners exited, and I'm still currently with the company that purchased me. And during that time in 16, it was kind of a whirlwind. It was probably the peak of my weight. I was about 85 pounds heavier. I think, hitting 262 at that point, and uh, pretty rinse and repeat of hungover, do it again, and building that empire of my business just by boozing, entertaining, bottles of wine, martini lunches. Um, and in 16, after my deal got funded, man, it was kind of like a world of depression. It was like, kind of like, what next, man? It's over. I built this empire, I sold it, I got millions of dollars in the bank, and like I kind of went into this massive tailspin. And then fast forward a little bit, 2017, my wife was like, "Hey, you should probably slow down drinking." So I didn't drink the summer of 2017, just cold turkey, which was surprisingly not that hard. One of the reasons, because I had this passion to like save my marriage, and like kind of the red lights were going off, the sirens were like, "Hey, there might be some problems at the home." So I was like, "Oh, I'll pump the brakes." September, I go to New York, Buffalo, entertain some clients, have a couple vodka sodas, um, kind of started drinking a little bit. October 16th, which in 2017 was my son's birthday, was actually my last drink. We were at a bar at Central where he was going to school. And I think my bar tab was $3,200 because I was buying all the kids shots, and I was like life of the party. I was the dad of Central, and that was the last day I drank. Because pretty quick after that, my gal was like, "You need to go to rehab," and I'm like, "That's probably a good idea." So I went to this pretty intense rehab for 10 days. I won't get too violently involved of how abusive it was, but they no longer do it because they thought it was, inhumane for whatever reason. And the day I got out of rehab, I got served papers. So it's kind of like, what a pivotal point for me. I could like either start drinking again, or man, I could have my shit together and come out of this, because I'm still fighting to save my marriage, even after getting served papers. So I was like, man, I'm sticking to this. And 30 days later, found out there was some other shit going on with her. And I was like, okay, it's real. It's ending. I'm going to get through this again. Another pivotal point of like, man, I could start just boozing again and drown myself in sorrows, but I'm going to be a better man. I'm going to be a better dad. I've learned a lot of lessons. And when I was in rehab for 10 days, on the third day, I had this epiphany, because I went in there thinking, oh, I'm going to save my marriage. I'm going to do this for my kids. I'm going to do this for my wife. And on the third day, something just hit me. It was like, I got to do this for me, because unless I'm right, there ain't shit going to be right. So there was a big turning point for me. It just kind of overwhelmed me of like, man, I got to if I'm not right, there ain't anything ever going to be right in my life, from fitness to my kids to future relationships to anything. So like, holy cow, I got to get my own shit together and look in the mirror and be like, you need to fix you and not worry about everybody else or carry other people's problems at this point. So I kind of made it through that ordeal. Been 7 years sober. October 16th. So yeah, it's been a crazy, wild ride of sobriety. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of physical changes, a lot of mental and emotional changes, and healing relationships and letting relationships go, and having these big circles now down into a little smaller, more intimate groups. So it's been crazy.
Man, that's a lot, right? Like when we look back on it and we're like, oh, here's my story. It's like, well, how do I distill all this down? And there's a lot in there that is important for the context, but the overall message, that you have of how you can really go in for, because I've experienced that too, of, well, I'm going to do this because I want to start a family. I'm going to do this for the family. And then all of a sudden, for me, it was a little bit longer than three days, but it was like, okay, I need to get better for me. There has to be different things that I need to do for myself, because I'm not showing up how I want to show up. And that's really important. Like you said, ain't shit going to happen if I don't take care of that side. So I really love how you broke all of that down. One thing that you talked about a lot in there that is such a huge discussion point when it comes to stopping drinking or making a big life change, no matter what it is relationships, and how a lot of your relationships were founded on that partying lifestyle. And then you just talked about how things have changed and letting some go, growing and healing some others, and how that goes. Where do you think it started for you that you realized that relationships with people needed to change?
That took a little while because my circle was so big, right? I could have a
Mm-hmm.
text and I could have people, if I was at a martini lunch with a client and be like, "Hey, just come to the house and barbecue," and then I could just fire up a text of like, high school, the kids, college kids that were still around that love to party with Ian, all my friends, my neighborhoods. Like I was the neighborhood party house, and boy, I should write another book of just like the deep stories of my sobriety. That were not the best. So I could text and get a group of 20 plus people, and my poor wife at the time would be like, okay, well, I guess we're going to order Chinese food, or we'll go get a bunch of lasagnas and grab a case of wine and some Tito's on your way home because we don't have enough at the house. That circle was so big, and 26 people, you know, 15, 20 people at your house, a lot. It wasn't just one weekend a month. It would be 3, 4 days a week. And it was, easy circle. People would text you and be like, "Hey, it's up. There's any excuse. It's Bachelor. When first came out, be like, "Oh, we're
Mm,
gonna have a bachelor party at the house. Right? Yeah, come on over. We're gonna watch the Bachelor. The Bachelor's on, but we're really just drinking at the, kitchen because everybody migrates in the kitchen. Or it's Thursday night football, or it's Monday night football, or it's NCAA final, whatever. There was an excuse. People would call me and be like, and I'm a, I'm a not a no guy. I'd be like, yeah, that sounds great. Well, yeah, you go to the house. I got my kids baseball. I'll see you at 6:30. It was, and then at the baseball game, I'd be like, hey, I already got people at the house, so come on over. So I'd have
yeah.
baseball. So it was nonstop of this circle. And when you quit drinking, some of those people are like little ants because it's like, oh, there's no more fun time, free booze, free food at the fee's house. They just kind of dissipate themselves. But then you still have the ones that, thought you were friends, thought they were circles. But when you go through some serious shit in your life, you find out exactly who your closest circle is. So if people are like questioning, like, I don't know if yeah, I think they're in my closest circle. Have something really bad in your life happen, and are those people there? You'll
Mm,
find out real quick who your core circle is. And that happened for me going through kind of my divorce, non-drinking. My core four, right? And sometimes those core four change. But my circle's so intimate and small, and nothing's off limits. We can talk about anything. And they're very genuine, heartfelt, growing, because everybody has issues in life. It could be kids, it could be work, it could be money, it could be whatever. But when you can have real conversations that people genuinely care about you and want you to grow, those are your core folks, man, that you want to, those are your ride or dies. And mine, it took me a while because I'm so used to that big group to like be alone. I never like being alone. And I can be alone. I can go eat at a restaurant alone. I can go work out alone. I can go ride a bike alone. Before I'd be like, I need 10 people with me because that's like my little security blanket of have like I got my posse with me, right? Um,
yes.
and it took a little while to break away from that. And I just outgrew relationships. That not that they're bad people by no means at all. They're great people, successful, good family people, way better than what I was for sure. I just outgrew them. I just didn't want to be in that lifestyle anymore, because I was super into mindset and health and fitness and figuring this thing out,
Yeah.
which is an everyday journey of like trying to be better every day.
That's such an amazing point to bring up too, about how, a lot of people are like, well, what if I leave these people behind? And it's okay to outgrow people. It doesn't mean that they're bad or you're bad or, there was anything wrong there. It just means that you're going in different directions and there's nothing wrong with that. But for some reason, a lot of times we feel like, well, we have to maintain every single relationship we ever started, whether it be friendship, coworkers, that person I said hi to at the grocery store last Thursday, like all of these people that we've had conversations with, we need to maintain that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. And it doesn't say anything about who you are or who they are.
Exactly.
Oh, and you brought up a really great point too of having that big circle and then getting it down to that size. And a lot of it happens when you're going through some big changes, and how that can be. And is it scary? Sure. But when you get to the other side, I mean, it's not even once you get to the other side, it's when you're halfway through it, you start to realize the difference between quantity and quality and just the power that comes from that.
Yeah, and the people in that, you just triggered some thoughts for me of like there's some people that kind of wanted to still be in the circle just to stir the shit. What's the shit going on? The drama queens of the world, the drama
Ooh.
kings of the world, like, hey, what's going on? Oh, did you hear about Ian? Oh my God, did you hear about this? And you have those people that want to stay in your circle for their own selfish reasons to create some drama or inquire minds want to know. And then you have the other people that are like, there's a lot of shit going on over there, babe. We're staying out of that, and we're going to step away from that circle for a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
there are multiple types of people that are like these, that some that just want to still have their tentacles in this relationship to just be in the know, or to be in the know to go talk to somebody else on it, which are not bad people. It's just that's who they are. Um, and then you got the people that are like, hey, there's crazy shit going on over there. We're not going over there. So you have those people too that, they just kind of dissipated. Um, but I've had a lot of people since I wrote the book that have read the book that I haven't talked to in years text me, DM me, message me like, hey man, that was an awesome book and glad you're doing well. And so it's good. And it's not that I totally disown those people. But there's the guy I lived with, Casey. I just don't see him a lot anymore. To where I was drinking Maker's Mark, sitting in his hot tub every night till 2 a.m. and getting up at 6 and going back at it. He still does that. That's just, he's an awesome dude. I love him to death, but it's just, I've outgrown that quantity of time with him.
And that kind of brings to mind the change of environment that happens, right? And that's where I think a lot of people, you start to let go of that, is these environmental changes, and how, depending on how you want to be, you start to put yourself in different environments.
For sure. Yeah, you gotta. If you, I just had this conversation with one of my son's college buddies, 29 years old. And he's like, he knows he has a drinking problem, and he admits it. Like, I want to get out of it. And what's the first piece of advice you could give me? I'm like, bro, you got to get out of your circle. Look at the five people you hang out with. They smoke pot, drink booze, video game, and you get drunk every night. There ain't one in that group that is doing something. So get out of it. It's not that they're bad kids. It's just get out of that circle is number one. Is like, you have to change your environment. And I said, hey, it's going to get super uncomfortable, but you got to be completely comfortable being uncomfortable, because it'll get comfortable. And he's,
Mm.
oh, okay, yeah, I get it. But again, I'm not here to push people to drink, not drink, or whatever, because one day you're going to go, I need to make a change. And it's only you that will make that decision. You can have all these little birdies henpecking you a little bit, like, hey, bro, you need to quit drinking. You need to slow down. You need to do this. And until you look in the mirror and go, I'm making a change, it ain't happening. And for him,
No.
I hope he looks in the mirror and makes a change, because he's almost like begging for it, right? It's almost like you
Mm-hmm.
kind of want to go in there and try to guide it a little more, but at the end of the day, you got to look in the mirror and go, okay, you're right. I do need to look at my circle. Holy cow, there ain't anything good in this circle. If I want to stay in this environment and stay broke and drunk every day, I'm going to stay there. But if you don't, you got to get out.
Just do something different, anything different. My friend Aaron Brown calls it, auditing your orbit. Like, every once in a while, audit your orbit, because of exactly what you're talking about. The five, you are the sum of the five closest people to you. And that is something that is so great. One thing that I've started to do, because I have two young kids, who are 7 and 5, and I'm like, if somebody is starting to get kind of close and they're going about to enter that orbit, I'm like, is this somebody I'm okay with having an influence over my kids? Because whether they're around my kids or not, they have an influence over me, which means they have an influence over my kids. So if I can answer the question, I'm okay with them having an influence over my kids. Okay, there's something there that, yeah, let's bring them into, the orbit. And you said something earlier too about, it's okay that the orbit changes. Like, leave yourself open to that, because you get to different life paths, you get to different moments. You might not see somebody for a few months. That doesn't mean that they're not going to get back there, but it's okay to fill it with, somebody else to be able to move in for a little bit.
Yeah, I use the analogy a lot of like a mobile, right? Because you got kids, remember the little
Mm,
mobile, and it turns, right? And it's got the donkey, and it's got the cool unicorn like it does behind you, and it turns, and everything's kind of cool, and but and it happens in life, whether somebody dies or a circle leaves, man, that pendulum, it changes and it needs to re-find its center again, right? But it
mhm.
will, but it takes it a little bit. And that pendulum shifts. They're a death in a family. Who's going to be the new leader? Who took kind of a dad role? Who took the scheduling role? Right? It takes a little bit for that to happen. And I know that because my mom and dad just passed away not too long ago. So there's our pendulum still. Ours hasn't settled in our family yet. But it's like that in your circle too. When you get out of that circle, you're the one leaving, but you're creating your own new pendulum, and it's a little rocky and it's uncomfortable, but it will get back to the cool little music and the rainbows dancing in the background.
Just got to clean that shit up, and you will get back to
Gotta
being able
clean it
to
up.
admire those rainbows.
That's
And
right.
yeah, it's amazing how your relationships can really set up your environment, but then also how your environment can set up your relationships and how those two are so correlated. And that's something that I think that people start to recognize that they want some change, but they're not willing to change their environments that they're in. And so they see that they're kind of like stuck and they hit that wall. And it's not like you have to do anything drastic. It's go to a different just go to a different bar one night, right?
Yep.
Like if it maybe do that, or I talk to people, well, what is it that it interests you just a little bit? And for some people, it's like hiking. Okay, go on meetup.com or Facebook groups and see if there's a hiking group in your area. Try that. Guess what? You're probably going to meet somebody that you will become friends with in those environments. It's just something small that all of a sudden you'll start to create something drastically different.
Yeah, yeah. Just get yourself in those environments, like you said. I did it in my drinking days. Like I'm gonna go
Mm,
to a dive bar with, you know, I wanted to be super successful in business and wanted to be around these millionaires and be around business oriented people or investments or like opportunities. I ain't gonna go find that at the local bar with retired dude from Boeing at 72 having beers with his buddy and whoever else. I wanted to go to the pay more to go be at a nicer bar in a Hyatt or some high end restaurant. So at least maybe I could run into somebody that I knew because I was really good at buying people's drinks and getting to know them real quick. So again, I'm a
mm.
big believer of like, you want to get in those environments, go put yourself in those environments because they're there.
It just sparked in me like you want to get to a really it's like a shortcut almost for growth. Like go find a yoga class for real. Like find a yoga class. You want to talk about self growth and self development. Like that environment is such fertile soil that just going to one, you'll be like, oh, I get it now. Maybe I don't get the exercises and how it's actually exercising. I don't get the stretches, but I get how this can cultivate just me being a different person,
Yeah,
better to myself.
right. It doesn't feel good when you the next day when you're sore, but it's like it
Right.
made an impact, right? It made
Oh,
an impact.
yeah. And just like you're talking about too, like you want to start to feel better. You want to start changing your diet, or getting in better shape. Are you going to find that at McDonald's? Not necessarily, but could you find it at Panera Bread? Possibly a little
Right.
bit more, right? That
Chipotle, something. There's enough
yeah,
fast food places that it's kind of semi healthier.
yeah. And
And
set
it's
yourself up there and see how you feel after that.
yeah, yeah, it's crazy. People take this temple that we have. We only have one, and we tend to abuse the living daylights out of the poor thing. We just fill it with toxic food and booze and drugs, and then we wake up the next morning and be like, well, why don't I look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, bro? Like it's discipline, it's habits, it's a lot of stuff. But we just our bodies are one, they're super resilient, but we also abuse the daylights out of them.
Absolutely. That's someone being blue collar, high voltage line tech, just watching those different jobs just beat the crap out of bodies. And all of a sudden, I'm watching these young guys just like grab way more than they should to carry it. And it's like, hey, we could get that in 2 trips. No, I got it. I got it in one. And it's like, okay, but 10 years from now, like that impact that's going to have on your shoulders, on your
Mm-hmm.
knees, on your ankles, your hips. It's one of those things. Like if you can open yourself up to listen sometimes in that environment, but listen to that different perspective, like that would be enough to change how things are. You could be in the same environment, but you're setting yourself up differently because you're shifting that perspective just a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, what do you think was something that set you up for this change for you to notice just the benefits of the change, maybe for the first time? Was there one thing that kind of like, okay, these changes, they're adding up, and this, I cannot believe who I am as a person right now?
One of my favorite books that I got, it's called Atomic Habits. And
Okay.
it's, little tiny baby steps and just introduce it. You want to get up earlier, set your alarm clock 5, 10 minutes earlier. Not, if you're used to getting up at 7 or 8 and you're going to get up at 6, the alarm's going to go off the first 2 times and you're going to throw it against the wall and you're going to hit snooze and you're going to go back to bed. But if you just do it a little becomes a lot. And if you just keep stacking those little things, whether it be hydration, getting up earlier, journaling, breath work, going for a walk, just getting outside and taking some deep breaths. All just do all those little things. For me, it's take people. I do cryo and cold plunges now, but I've been doing it for almost 2 years. And people are like, "Oh my god, how do you do that for 3 minutes?" I'd be like, "Well, one, it was about 5 seconds because when you are getting pelted with a million of freezing cold water, I'm not in there 3 minutes. I barely made it like 15 seconds as I was dancing around trying to turn the water back to hot. So it's the discipline of just keep going back. It took a year to get to 3 minutes because it's miserable. It's horrible. It's the worst thing ever. I'm not sure why I do it sometimes. But I feel so it's like a dopamine rush, man. When you're
Mm-hmm.
done, it's incredible. Cryotherapy is like my new buzz thing where it's 155 below in there and you try to make it, you know, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And it's just the mind, how powerful your mind is. Your body's fine. Your body is super resilient. It's like working out, right? It's like, oh, I'm tired. Well, really, you're tired in your mind. Your muscles are like, they're just ready to go. So I get back to just like just those little baby things. It just whatever it is you're trying to change. Even if you're going to quit drinking, I'm not going to have 6 beers tonight. I'm going to have 4. I'm not going to quit.
Yeah.
How many people do we know that I'm quitting cold turkey? They're hungover on a Sunday, like, oh man, I'm not drinking this week, not at all. I know because I was there and be like, yeah, good Lord, please save me. I feel like I'm going to die. I won't. I promise I won't drink all week. All week if you just make this headache go away. Right? We've all been there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And, and Monday at happy hour, you're like, wow, $1,000,000 again. You didn't even give yourself 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just give your body a tad of a rest, even I'm not saying don't drink as much one night. And then this big craze of Friday, Saturday night, just benders. People go balls to the wall, right? Well, I only drink on Friday and Saturdays. Well, you drink enough to kill an elephant. Um, so
That was
maybe
me.
just slow down a tad. So yeah, it's
What,
everything. It's all
like,
everything we know. It's moderation, right? Everything's in
yes.
moderation.
And like you're saying too about, the quitting and just having a couple less. Like one thing that I have found that has worked the most for people is asking themselves, like, am I actually getting what I'm looking for from this? Right? Like still drinking. And this is where you're entering that mindful stage because you're actually being mindful of what's happening to yourself, of what you're looking for, what your mind is trying to get, and be like, okay, I'm looking to have fun tonight. That's what I want to do. Am I actually having fun or am I just being loud and making things happen that I'm like, holy shit, I shouldn't really be doing this? And I'm equating that with fun. rather than what actually could be fun, where you're laughing from your belly with a lot of people over something that is actually like authentic to yourself and not just something you wouldn't normally do. And you're like, holy shit, am I going to get caught? Right. Like, is that really the fun? Or is there something else that's fun and you're equating it with something different? And that is so powerful in there too. And so like you're talking about with these baby steps, was there a moment where you look back and you're like, I cannot believe how far I've gotten just doing these small steps?
Yeah, I don't think it's really even hit me now, to be honest with you. It's like there's so much that is just, it's such a habit and a routine anymore. It's like Groundhog's Day for me. It was like, as soon as I wake up, I don't look at my phone for 30 minutes. That's like was a big thing for me. It took me a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because if you look at your phone, most of our phones are like defensive. Oh my God, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do that. So it's like puts you in reactionary mode right away. So I don't look at my phone. I get up, hydrate, go outside, 2 minutes of breath work, just super deep breaths. I journal. I never journaled. Never. I never even thought in the world I would journal. And now I'm journaling. Like, I guess that'd be one of the big things. Like, holy shit, I journal now. I don't even think of it. And if I don't, I feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And my journals, it's minutes. People think, oh, you're journaling for 10, 15 minutes. No way. I couldn't sit still that long. I journal for a minute, and it's gratitude and what I'm thankful for and some things I want to work on. And then that's it. So it's pretty small. And then I'm off to the gym, sauna, cold plunge, boom, I'm ready to go to work at 7:45. But it took a while. And now it's such a habit. It's like, boy, was there epiphany? Or when I look back and be like, was there one thing? I'd be like, I wish I would have started it earlier, to be honest with you. Um, I always worked out a little bit when I was drinking because I was just thinking, oh, I'm sweating out booze. I'm working out. I always did. I
Yeah.
always posted every morning. I was the guy that I was. If I was working, I was posted. I was at the gym. I sweat out maybe a little bit of booze to maybe think I was feeling better, but I really wasn't. Um, but to go back and really, I'd say it's just stacking all those little things that just took a while. Now they're habits. They're second nature. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
set discipline for me, and it sets the tone for my day. When I miss one of those, or I'm on a work deal and I forgot my journal, or um, there's no cold plunges or steam rooms. Is like your body gets used to those things, and it like knows like, hey, we're missing something here, bro. What did we miss today? Your body is just amazingly resilient. So the biggest thing was I took my body for granted, boozing and drinking and Jack in the Box tacos at 2 a.m, Dick's Burgers. I mean, you name it. I just punished my body with just bad shit. And I look back now of like, I mean, they always say, what would you tell your younger self? Eat better, eat clean, you go splurge, go do all your stuff, but you don't need to have 400 cheeseburgers on a Friday, Saturday night. Um, there's just, I wouldn't say regrets, but it'd be like, man, I sure wish I would have looked after the temple at a way younger age. Because now I'm 52 and I'm like in a little bit of a catch up mode. Um, and obviously, the older we get, the less our healing takes a little longer for sure. Especially those drinking days, man. My healing was like, whoo, hangovers for days.
Yeah, my first 2 day hangover was my last hangover. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. I got lucky with that. And it's yeah, like just the way that you're laying it out and those small steps and not just like I'm going to take a small step by waking up earlier and then I'm going to stack the journaling on top of it and then I'm going to stack like no, it can be that 5 minutes, right? And it can be okay, let's get to a point where we want to get to and then we feel like we can add something else. It doesn't have to all be at once. And that's something that I see people do and that gets tiring after a while. So sometimes doing the one thing and seeing how it feels and being like, okay, this feels good. Do that other thing, see how that feels. Okay, this feels even better than that last thing did. Okay, that second thing you did, then focus on that first and make that become into the subconscious and then switch over to that other one that feels good and you're going to benefit from it. But at least then you're doing those small things. And I remember, God, one time I I set my alarm for PM instead of AM. And it was like, how did I do this? I'm 38 years old. How does this happen? And I wake up, I have 10 minutes to get my kids out the door to go to school to get them there on time. And I'm like, God, this is a disaster. I can't believe I did this. And I started beating myself up. And then within 10 seconds of doing that, I'm like, okay, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to have to sign them in for being late. Okay, that's not such a big deal. I don't have to be in a tizzy and a rush. And then I don't have to wake them up and be in a tizzy and a rush and have a really bad morning because all of our emotions are all jumbled together in a big mess. And so I just stopped and I woke them up. I said, hey guys, just so you know, we woke up late because daddy slept through his alarm. We have to put our clothes on and get out the door. So go potty, brush your teeth. We're going to go quick. They're just like, okay, put on their clothes and everything. We get out the door. There was no tears, no like nobody's angry, no yelling. And we get to school. And guess what? We get to school on time. Didn't have to sign them in late. And it's like, if I would have got up and we need to get going, everybody needs to be in a rush, it would have put them in a rush, even though I didn't necessarily, like, it would have started them crying and the anxiety they'd feel. And it took me, I was actually facilitating a group meeting and I'm like, so this just happened this morning. I'm like, wait a second. This is a moment of a lot of growth, a lot of stacking these small wins that all of a sudden I was beating myself up with my self-talk. And on my own, I'm just like, wait, why am I beating myself up? It happens. You're allowed to make a mistake. Right. Oh, and then I was going to, really get in my emotions and let them lead the charge. And I'm like, wait a second. There's no reason that I have to do this because it's not like anybody's going to die. I have to sign them in that they're late because I'll write on the sheet, daddy slept in too long. That's it. Oh, well, what are they going to do? They're going to take me to jail because I slept in, a little bit too long and we're 5 minutes late for school. And so just all of these little things that led to them just getting ready and going and no tears and just like a pretty smooth morning with everything all said and done. And it's like, okay, like when I said the story out loud and I stopped and I reflected, I'm like, I need to give myself some credit here because I deserve that credit. That's a lot of hard work that went into that.
For sure. Yeah. It takes a lot, to realize that. And it's like, I always use my new buzz term or mantra is like, you set the tone, right? You set the tone.
You do. Yes.
And you completely set it a great tone for your kids, right? The tone could have been just pandemonium, chaos, kids crying, get your backpack, get your shit together. We're late. But like you said, at the end of the day, who really cares? Mm-hmm. Right? Your kids they were still on time. No chaos, no nothing. It's kind of like people that miss their flights that just go to these flight attendant counters and they're just raging at these people. Be like, there's another flight. It's okay. I get it. You want to see your family, your kids, or like shit happens. It's all how you react to situations anymore. It's like we were talking earlier. It's all about what is our reaction to that situation. And when you see growth is you feel that and you're like, do I really even need to react to this? And if I do, I'm going to react super calm. Or it's like, sometimes you ask questions to people and it's like an interrogation, but it's just a question. But it's all, that's on them, not on you.
That is a powerful statement. Like that's a way to notice if people are good for your circle, right? If you're asking them questions and they get really defensive and start to wonder why you're judging them, why you're all of this. Oh, that's on them. Is that the energy that you benefit from being around, right? Or is that the energy? And this isn't like every single time they have to be on point, but it is this a common thread?
Yeah.
Oh, that was wow. That was really good. And just recognizing yourself for the credit you deserve, right? For all of these little things that you're doing to stack to get to a point where you're really enjoying living your life. Like you said, you set the tone. So if you start giving yourself credit for these little things, that tone is going to be a little bit more joyful and a little bit more excited for little things.
Yeah, it's like New Year's is coming, right? And we all know every
Hmm.
gym's going to be packed. Everybody wants to get in shape. Everybody wants to lose 5 pounds or 30 pounds or whatever. And everybody has these ginormous goals and they quit because they're like, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. I was that way. I was like, I'm fat and I'm going to lose weight. And then when I step back and I like doing these little tiny things, I'm going to do little tiny goals. I'm going to lose 1 pound this week. When I didn't hit the scale and see 30, it's devastating, right? But if you get to a little smaller goal, whatever, do a goal for the week. My goal this week is to lose 1 pound. My goal is not to go to Starbucks 5 times, but 4 times. Whatever your goal is, keep it really small. I'm not going to spend any more money on Starbucks or whatever your vice is. Go small. Or like this year, I'm going to do XYZ. How about tomorrow? I'm going to do this. And give yourself little baby wins because we just beat our subconscious and our own selves up because they're like, well, I didn't hit the goal this week. So you know what? I ain't doing it. It didn't work. I didn't lose
Mm.
any weight. I didn't feel better. Or, it's no different if you're if you're selling something. It's like, I'm in the car business. So I'm gonna go sell 25 cars this month. And it'd be like, how about you go sell one today? Just focus on one. How about three this week or whatever? Get your goals to where you have wins because all those goals are achievable. Just stack them more, right? Stack baby wins. It's like, I love to use the baseball analogy. Everybody likes to hit these home runs, right? And they're superstars. What about all the guys that hit the base hits, base hits, base hits, base hits, win, right?
Yeah.
So it's like just get back to a smaller scale of your goals. You want to slow down
Mm.
drinking? Don't drink tomorrow. I'm not drinking. I'm sober October, right? I mean, that's a big buzz. How about sober October one day? Then it's
Yeah.
2 days. Then it's three. You're winning. You just won 3 days. You're staring at 30, but you won three. You already won, right? See, if we subconsciously can get those wins in our brain, it does something to our body and our dopamine hit of like, I'm winning. Instead of I didn't, I look at this goal and I failed. Right?
Yes.
But we put them on the mirror and it's like if you can just do those little tiny things, man, it's a mind changer of for everything, whatever you do or any aspect of your life.
Mm. That's in, there's so many quotes that are just flooding my mind right now. Right. And, someone on the podcast when we first started the podcast who said the quote, what you focus on longest will become the strongest. And I was like, that quote has stuck with me through so much. And that is true. If you're focused on how you're not hitting the goal, that is going to be what you focus on. You focus on how you are hitting the goal. Now all of a sudden you have that different outlook with yourself. There's something that I teach people that you can use like right now after I get done with saying this, and it's going to change your life in a week if you focus on this, is stop identifying yourself with outcomes, start separating yourself from those outcomes, right? Like, I am not an idiot because I dropped the bowl. Like, that was kind of dumb that I dropped the bowl, right? So like you're not identifying yourself with what happened. You're like, oh, that was not great, but it's not me. And so as you start to work on your self-talk, and it's not going to happen where you're the first thing you're going to say is, I'm an idiot, I dropped the bowl. Then after that, you're like, wait, I'm not an idiot. That was kind of dumb, but I'm not an idiot because of it. It's just that action wasn't great. Like, that's when you start to get there. Now all of a sudden you're focusing on something different. You're allowing yourself to make mistakes and be human. And that's just something that I've noticed in other people. As soon as they start to work on that, it's like, oh my God, I'm treating myself so much better. And I'm not even treating myself great. I'm just stopped treating myself terribly.
Yeah. It's like when you see people um, drop something at the grocery store, or if it's school or on the sidewalk, they drop some papers and like, it could be like this totally negative thing. Or you
Mm-hmm.
could go up and be laughing and be like, oh my gosh, I just did that myself and go help them. It's all the perception of how you deal with that. Always look for the good in things, right? No matter what it is, look for good in every situation because I promise you it's there, right? It's like the analogy you just said is like, What you think about is what you move towards. I use that all the time. What you think about is what you move towards. And
Yeah.
it is so true. Wherever your thoughts are going, whether you're buying a boat or you're looking at a new iPhone, you start talking about an iPhone or a laptop or whatever, you will start, the more you think about it, you will buy it. It's
Hmm.
just how our mind works, man. So wherever your focus is and your thoughts are, that's where it's going to move. So
Mm.
so right. I love your quote. I love it.
And just these little hacks that you can find in different areas of life. Like you just used it for marketing for like boats and iPhones and things like that. Okay, now I can take that and I can use it in my life. Like you start to notice these connections that you can make. Well, what if I could take that? Yeah, that'll work for work. But what if I could take that and use it on myself a little bit and see how that changes the way that I show up? Wow, this is a lot different.
Yeah, it's
And
like the I can't think of who the quoter was. Like if you look, slug bug. You ever play slug bug with your kids?
oh yes, oh
When you
yes.
start looking for slug bugs, you find them. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're not, you're like, don't even notice them. Go look for the red car when you're going to work. You know what? And it's in your mind. You'll see every red car. If you just bought a new 1500 pickup truck, you're going to see every 1500 pickup truck on the road. It's because what you think about, you're moving towards in anything.
And that's to get woo woo, right? And for the
Yep.
unicorn, like that's really what when people talk about manifestation, like that's what they're talking about. They're not talking about saying I'm going to get this $1 million. It's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on making more money and putting myself in an environment where I am building this business, or I'm focused on making healthier choices, which could be I'm not going to go to the bar anymore. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go sign up for that yoga class that I've been interested in. I'm going to, you know what? Even if it's, I'm going to not go to the bar and go to candle making. That's a healthier choice than what is going to the bar. So noticing how you can kind of change that and make that shift is so empowering to yourself. It's not what I can't have anymore because I still go to the bar. Like the bar has decent food every once in a while, but not good enough for every goddamn day.
Right.
Right. So you change that. It's like I can still go to the bar, but I don't really want to. And you start doing things that you actually want to do, and your mind stops focusing on the negatives because there's less negatives to focus on because you're actually living your values and how you want to.
Yeah. That's like I love the analogy of, um, get uncomfortable being
Mm,
whatever, like you said, going to the bar, like, I'm going to go to the place across the street, right? Just because it's different, go do something different. Go get on. Well, I know the bartender here and it's easy and they know what I like and I don't even need the menu. Go get uncomfortable. Go meet somebody else. Go get in a different environment, right? That's uncomfortable for some people. So it's
mm.
like if you can just go, hey, I'm going to go get uncomfortable today. I'm gonna go get uncomfortable.
Oh, here's one that people can use that I bet you if they did it, they wouldn't realize the different thoughts that they would have. Take the different route home. Take the route home that you normally wouldn't driving. Or if you go for walks every night, instead of turning right at the end of your driveway, turn left. Just go backwards
Go
around
backwards
that.
around your walk. Yeah.
Yeah. And just see how that one little difference can change the thoughts that come up when you go on the walk. It's unreal. It really is. It's when I find myself like really caught in my mind and I'm going for a walk on, there's a certain route that I'll take. I'm like, yeah, today's the day. And I do it backwards. And it's my thoughts are completely different. It just changes what I see and how I see it, but also the thoughts and how they come in because now I'm more conscious of, well, I got to pay attention to where I'm walking. I'm not just doing it on autopilot. And with that, like the thoughts, I get more control over my thoughts rather than those being on autopilot too.
Yep.
Oh, this has been really, really awesome. I really enjoyed talking to you, Ian. If people want to be able to keep up with you, what's the best way they could do that?
You can follow me on all the social media platforms. Ian Fee. So on Instagram, TikTok. Facebook, LinkedIn. I got a book, Wild Ride to Sobriety, on Amazon. Just came out the tail end of October. It's just kind of my story, my journey. There's some funny stuff in there. There's some tear jerking stuff in there. There's a lot about health, fitness, and just the little baby atomic habits that I've done over the years that have made a big impact. So it tugs a lot of people's different emotions. So highly recommend to
I
go
love
check
it. What's that book title again?
Wild Ride to Sobriety.
Hmm. Go look that up, everybody, because I'm sure it's going to be, it is going to be full of wisdom and you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be a wonderful read. I really appreciate you being here, Ian. This has been
Okay,
so much
and
fun.
I loved it. It was a blast. I hope we get to do a lot more of these. I will make sure that everybody is super aware of Untapped Keg, which I love the name of it. It's so awesome. I just
Thank you.
started following you on all your platforms, and man, if you guys are new to this show, it is incredible. Just some of the podcasts that I've already listened to. So make sure you follow RJ. He's the real deal.
Mm. Thank you for that. I truly appreciate it. And it's we before you and I had a discussion before, and it was really amazing, and the connection that we had just in the past couple of days. But um, you're talking about the best compliments, right? And how they're not even said to you, right? And it's just people noticing these different things about you. And you gave me one without me even realizing it, like right there. And I truly appreciate it. And I wanted to um I just yeah, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, keep doing what you're doing, man. You're making an impact. That's one why we're both staring at each other is how can we make an impact on other people to be a better parent, husband, wife, sibling, boss, friend, whatever.
Self.
Yep.
Mm.
Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror and be how can I be better today?
Ooh, I love it. Thank you, Ian. I appreciate you. For those out there, leave me a review. It'd be great if it's 5 stars, but if it's not, please tell me how I can improve. Or if you enjoy it, share it with someone who you know would benefit from this episode. And let's try to be better tomorrow than we were today. Because at least we don't make it, we tried. Have a great week, everybody. I love you.